Hello everyone. Welcome to Art Lounge, Figure Drawing Basics Part 57. I am your host, and I will be jumping into today's lesson in just a few seconds. Well, actually in a few minutes, because I would like to introduce newcomers to the Patreon page. This is it, y'all. It's been a long time coming. I put in some time in developing it, and I got some tiers for you. I got 6 tiers altogether. Got tier 1 official patron, most popular, pretty affordable, $2 per month. Show your support for the Art Lounge Alley. You get access to the Discord server, which brings everybody from all the social media platforms and the tiers together into one channel for you guys to get to know one another, interact, share ideas, thoughts, expression, and pretty much anything under the sun. Next, we got tier 2 all access patrons, $5 per month, and in this tier you guys get access to all my work. Oh, I forgot to mention, tier 1, you get your name listed in the credits at the end of the stream as a way to say thank you for supporting the stream. So yeah, tier 2 all access, you get access to finished pages and exclusive content as well. And what that means is I'm going to be posting stuff like finished pages later on. You guys will get first glance at the work, what's going on, before I post it to all the other social media platform. Exclusive content is content that I'm going to be posting that's going to be only for patrons. It's not going to go on any other social media platform, so you guys are going to get the exclusive sneak peek. And work in progress, behind scenes, that sort of thing. Next, we got access, and you get all the previous tier benefits, which is the Discord server that I mentioned, and your name listed in the credits as well. Next, we got tier 3, critique submission tier. This is where you guys get to be part of the Art Lounge Alley stream. If you guys are looking for some tips and tricks, some ways to improve your drawing, you want to get some guidance in what you're working on, this is a perfect opportunity. You just got to submit some work through the Discord server that you want to be critiqued live on stream, and that's going to be held every Friday from 8 until 10. I'm going to be critiquing your work, giving you some pointers, giving you some hints, and I'm also going to be promoting your social media platform. So if you got one, you got a couple of things cooking, you want some followers, you want some people to check out what you're up to, this is a good opportunity to do that. There's some things on here, some requirements, read through them. If you got any questions, of course, I'm always happy to answer them in the stream, off the stream. You could always message me and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Next, we got Kickstarter patron, $25 per month. Be the first few to support the Art Lounge Alley. And with that, you will get a high resolution digital painting done of you live on stream. That's going to be held every Thursday from 8 until 10. I do encourage you guys to be as creative as you'd like. Put on masks, makeup, wear glasses, make expressive face expressions, hats, accessories. If you guys are into cosplay, that's even better. You know, that's going to make the stream more fun. It's going to be a cool portrait of you. But it's not required. So you could just send me a simple photo from your head down to your chest and I'll do the high resolution digital painting of you. You will also get all the previous tier benefits, including getting your name listed in the credits. Next, we got tier 4 artist promotion, also $25 per month, but this is meant for intermediate or advanced artists. So if you guys are looking to be part of an artistic community, if you want to join the Art Lounge Alley stream, if you want to promote your work, you know, you got a bunch of things that you want to show, you want to get more followers, you want to get more viewers. This is open to all sorts of artists. It's not just illustrators. So if you know somebody who is in any of these fields or an artist with interesting content that wants to promote themselves, tell them about the Art Lounge Alley. It does require for you to submit a 5-minute video. You know, I think that iMovie is pretty simple. It takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it. You will get a 5-minute show reel for yourself and you'll be familiar with the video editing program. The reason why is it allows you guys, intermediate and advanced artists, to talk about or present your work the way you'd like it to. You have 5 minutes, and within that 5 minutes, you could do whatever you'd like. That way, it's presented the way you want it to be seen. There's some important information on here, so I do encourage you guys to check this out. You could view this in the Twitch channel in the About section. All the way on the right side, you'll see Patreon page, along with other social media platforms on there as well. So I encourage you guys to read through it, take your time, read it at your own pace. And as always, you can send me any questions and comments that you got, and I'll answer them for you. Then we got the last one, tier 5, private tutoring. Well, it's supposed to be tier 6. I'm gonna fix that. It's limited to 15 people. And you will get 4 personalized videos per month. So 1 video per week, showing you where you could improve, what you could do to make your drawing look better. It does require you to send something in for me to work on, for me to show you what you could do. And it's not, there's no limit to it. So you could be a total beginner, just starting out, and I'll be happy to guide you through. So it's all the way from beginner to advanced, and I will be able to help you improve on whatever it is that you send in through the Discord server. And I'll also be submitting a PSD file for you guys to check out along with the video. So that way you could take your time, look through the file, and have it there, help guide you and how you can improve whatever it is that you submit. You will also get a private Discord channel, which allows you guys to send messages to me. So each one of you, each 15 of you, is going to have your own channel between me and you, and that way it's private. You could send me messages, comments, questions that you got, progress that you're having, and I'll write you back. I'll talk about it in the next video that I'm going to send you. That way you guys are linked to me, and we can progress from there. So that pretty much does it, y'all. As I mentioned, check out the page, read through it at your own pace. That way you can get a better idea of what's going on. So with that said, y'all, I'm gonna jump into where I left off yesterday. So I was doing some work on eyes, I did talk about briefly how important it is to draw what you're seeing right now, this diagram basically, or this this drawing showing you proportions. This page is actually available on the Patreon page, so you guys can download it, you could print it, you can have it side by side with you when you're drawing. That way it's yours to keep, and you can make as many copies as you'd like. I think it's an excellent diagram to have in each sketchbook that you draw in. That way you could flip to it, as opposed to having another book open. You could flip through it in your sketchbook, look at it, and be like, all right, the upper part of the leg is 2 heads in height and 1 head in width. And then you could go back to your drawing and then try to work that out in your drawing as well. It's a great warm-up for you to practice day to day. This is your alphabet basically. If we want to compare the process of learning to read, write, or write, you have to learn the alphabet, and you got to repeat it multiple times in order to memorize it. So this is the same idea. You got to repeat this over and over again to remember that it's 8 heads altogether, and how to measure it out, how to make sure everything is proportionate, and that the halves are equal to each other when you're talking about the body. Let me grab the pencil. So yeah, this is a good diagram to have. I started out on drawing the eyes yesterday just to change pace, change the direction of what you guys are seeing. And I'm going to continue with that today, actually. I'm going to give you more examples of there's also this page right here, and this is an oldie, just to show, I was kind of playing around there. I was doing some building kind of example as well, but really this is a box just to show the 3-dimensional aspect of the head, basically. So this is like your front, the front of the building, let's just say, right? And this section right here is the back. So this is where it starts to curve. The head starts to curve inwards more, and it's showing lines as guides. So as you could see here, this is something really important. It's in perspective, right? It's not just a really straight shot. As you could see, it's slowly going to the focal point that's off the page. And you could see that everything is kind of following the same direction. So we got this line right here just to show another plane on the head, where it starts to curve a little bit more. So here it's flat, then it starts to curve inwards more in this section. But you could see that the line here is parallel to this line, parallel to the eyebrow line. The same thing with the eyes as well. They're all parallel to each other if you were to draw the line. Same thing with the nose, as you could see. It's parallel to the line of how the eyes are going, how the eyebrows are going, how the forehead is going. And the same thing with the mouth. The mouth is a little bit more tricky because you don't see the other corner of the mouth, but you could tell that it is slanted in the same direction as everything else. And then, of course, here we got the most common guideline right here, which is to show that the eyebrow, really, top of the eyebrow, that line should be the line that marks where the ear starts, if you're going from the top down. And then from the tip of the nose, the bottom of the nose rather, you could see how it's also the guide to tell you where the earlobe stops. So this is the standard. Of course, this varies from person to person, but again, we're starting out with a standard. We're starting with something to work with, and then you could play around with it if you like, mess around with the anatomy a little bit here and there. But the most important thing, regardless of what kind of face, what kind of features, is this principle. As you see here, you got the lines indicating the direction of everything that's going. And that's going to be on everybody. Big or small head, various facial features or not, male, female, whatever it is. That's just a perspective concept, and that is pretty universal. You know, when some things like that are off, then it's a deformed face. You know, a deformed head, or it kind of breaks the fourth dimension and takes the viewer away from the image and its appeal. So you want to make sure that you really follow this. This is one of the most important principles, guides that apply to pretty much everything, including buildings. As you could see, it's the same idea, where you got like the top of it, it's parallel to everything else, like the windows, as you could see here, they're following the same line as the top of the building. And it changes, the direction slightly changes as it goes further down towards the horizon line. Because essentially what all these lines are going towards is a point out in the distance that connects them all together. And the very bottom one is that point, the horizon line is the point. So the vanishing point, let's just say, is on the horizon line. And that's why, as you could see, the further down it gets, it starts to become more parallel to the horizon line. So it's a very similar idea. And in this drawing, you could see basically the 3D of everything. It's really giving you an idea of 3D of the figure. The more you could understand it mentally and visually, like in your mind's eye, rather in your imagination, the more you could view the face 3-dimensionally, the easier it becomes for you to sculpt the face on paper. Because you're doing lines, there is no dimensions for you to like, okay, check. You know, unlike sculpting. Actually, let me bring out a piece that I had. So this is something that I was working on a while ago, and is just to demonstrate the 3D of the face, in a sense, and you could see how certain things really tend to jot out more. And that really gives you a better understanding. So I encourage you guys to play around with clay a little bit. Try to construct the human face. Because once you understand it, once you see its 3D, then you know, for example, when you're drawing it, like, okay, well, it does tend to curve inwards. So when it curves inwards, then things start to take perspective. And when you're shaping it on the figure itself, then you could use it as an example, right? You can angle it the way you want it to be, you know, if you want to change the perspective on it. And then just draw from that. So it's a fun exercise. It's a new medium to play around with. It is fun to, you know, just sit there, and it doesn't really require much. Like, you could just sit on your couch and kind of play around with the clay and come up with, you know, try to manifest the face. I'm just picking some things out. But yeah, it does give you a better understanding of anatomy, and like I said, you could really you can use it in your drawing, or to get a better understanding of the face in perspective. The more you take time to like sculpt things out and study it, the better your drawings are going to get as well. You'll remember, okay, when I was sculpting, like, this is what was going on here. So yeah, the more understanding you have of the figure, of facial features, the better it becomes for your drawing as well. All right, so with that said, yeah, just going back to this, all these are just more examples of how the face is, how it curves, where the planes start to shift. So this right here just demonstrates that as well. Just picturing a circle and then just slicing that circle, a ball rather, and then slicing that ball. Let's say a cue ball for pool, right? You just slice it, and that's where the ear would be. That's where the ear section would be. And here as well is just to demonstrate like eye sockets, basically, and how that really plays into the face as well. Like this is just a construction. So on top of that, you would have like the forehead, and the forehead would overlap the sections of the eyes. Here you could kind of see it right here. The eyes would rest within these sockets, obviously. And yeah, it's here to, or drawing this out really just gives you a better and better understanding of the face, creating more of a solid understanding in your mind's eye about features. And once again, the most important thing is making sure things are in line with each other. As I mentioned here, that angle, you don't want to have one eye lower or higher than the other, because that really throws off your drawing. So once you pick a perspective, you got to stick through it for the entire face. It can't just be like, okay, well, in this angle, he's kind of tilting his head downwards. But then once you get to the nose, it starts to look like it's tilting upwards. And then the mouth is like downwards. That becomes really bizarre at some point. So you want to make sure you follow the direction on all the features of the face. And things like this, this box example are perfect ways to practice that. Or to check it, when you are drawing, let's say, and you drew the face without using the guides, and you're like, something is off. Well, you can construct a box around it, knowing that, okay, and this line right here on the face, if you're drawing a 3/4 view, you could say, okay, this is the line right here where things start to curve. So let me add that in there, and then add the lines to make sure, like the top of the brow line, then going down to the ear, that it really does slant downwards in this perspective, to make sure that the eyes are leveled based on the angle, make sure that the nose is leveled based on the angle of the eyebrows as well. So you could use everything above in a sense to guide you and make sure that things are parallel to each other. So once you draw, let's say, the eyebrow line, then okay, well, the lines of the line on the eyes is supposed to follow the eyebrow line. It's supposed to be as parallel. So you could draw that, and then once you draw that, you could be like, okay, for the nose, it has to be at parallel to the eye line, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with the chin as well. So yeah, it's a really cool trick. It's a good way to check yourself to make sure that things are making sense. Okay, fresh page. I'm going to do demonstrations of eyes. So at the top here, and this is going to be a profile view of the eyes, just demonstrating to you guys what it kind of looks like, what little details you have to pay attention to. And themes that are going to repeat themselves regardless of the perspective. So these are 3 examples, side to side, showing you guys some eye concepts. All right, so what are we looking at here? We're looking at, try to bring it down a little bit, away from too much light. So 3 examples here, just showing how the eye is depending on the eyelids, basically. So as you can see, the upper eyelid right here, and then the second to the upper eyelid, I guess this is the first one, and then this is the second one. As you can see, it like folds, right? It's like a curtain, it kind of, or like blinds, basically, right? So like when you pull them all the way up, they just have to fold within themselves in order to keep the window open. So it's the same idea here. And the eye's like wide open here. Notice how the pupil isn't a perfect circle. It's actually like a seed shape because it's in perspective. So you want to make sure you avoid that. And also pay attention to the distance between 2 objects, the pupil and the iris. You can see that there is a gap there. But depending on how big you're drawing it, that gap would be smaller. But there will always be one between the 2, regardless of what position you're drawing from. Now, as you can see, like the eye is like a round shape, right? It is a round shape, but since it's inside the socket and it's being covered by the eyelid here, you only just see this shape. But this kind of helps understand it better in terms of what you're drawing, in terms of perspective even. How it sits in the socket and how the lids kind of play a role in that. So when you see sometimes people having bags under their eyes, well, it attributes to that. There's all that space that the ball kind of sits in. Next we got same eye, but now it's halfway open or halfway closed if the glass is half empty. Type, which I don't really think that there's a type like that. It's just a matter of perspective. Yeah, so it's like halfway open. But the same principle applies. It's still like a seed shape. It's still a seed shape. And as you could see even in here, there is slight texture, I want to say, to the eye. That it's not, the pupil isn't within the iris. It actually has its own shape. Like it has its own bevel, I guess. So that's a little detail to note. I want to say it's kind of like a little nipple. You know, it comes out. It doesn't rest on the pupil itself. And as you can see, the eyelids themselves, they come out as well in order to be able to close on each other. So that's a really important detail too. You don't want to draw the eye and then just draw the lids just basically on the same line as the eye itself on that circle. It has to go over it. It's like a hood. So you want to make sure that there is enough space for both of the lids to close on each other. If you miss this detail, it's going to look weird. You know, it's going to, as I mentioned before, break the fourth wall. So all these little tips and ideas, they're there to just enhance that, you know, really captivate the viewer and have them be enamored by the drawing, make them feel like it's actually real. And these little details do that. So obviously the last one, the third one, just shows what the eye is like when it's closed and how smooth that lid is. So you saw just the transition of the lid, basically. How it's still tucked in slightly when it's halfway open, and then it's smooth when the eye is closed. Also, notice the thickness that I drew right here on the eyelids to give them thickness, actually, because there is some thickness to them. You don't want it to be paper thin, right, in order to protect the eye. So that thickness is an extra layer of protection. I'm going to do another eye demonstration right here. Starting out with a fish shape, right? It kind of looks like a fish. You have to draw the tail here. And then from there, could start adding the detail. This is like the inner corner of the eye, the pink membrane, right here. And this is like a zoomed in version showing you guys like thickness. This is the thickness I was talking about right here at the bottom of the lid. And there is no quick shortcut to this. You know, you still have to draw it several times and notice how it's not like a perfect eye shape, the perfect fish shape. It's not just like perfectly this almond shape almost, right? There is some variation. It does come up a little bit, about like a third of the eye, third way up on the eyelid. It comes up more and then it starts to slope downwards. And that's something you'll notice the more you draw. You'll notice it with all different types of eyes, that there is variation to the lines. And the more variation you add to it, the more realistic it starts to look. Now notice how it's not a full pupil, it's not a full iris. It's not a perfect circle. It's still, some of it is hidden underneath the eyelid. Now if you were to see the full circle of the iris, then it would mean a different face expression, right? It would mean like somebody who's like really alert, or they're like alarmed kind of by what they're seeing. So that really changes the expression itself. And since it's a really glossy, like there's a lot of I want to say it's watery. The eye is watery to give the eyelid lubrication for it to be able to close and open, to protect yourself from debris and all that kind of stuff. So because of that lubrication, there's going to be some reflection there, right? It's like looking in a puddle and seeing your own reflection there. It's kind of the same idea here. So that's what that circle right there at the corner really indicates. It's just this shininess. In the process of showing you guys, I filled it in a little too much. If you guys have watched the first episode of Drawing Basics, you guys might have remembered me talking about how this is pretty much the most common thing that we have with everybody. No matter what your religion is, no matter what your shape, size is, what skin color you are, what gender you identify with, you know, pretty much anything. This is the most thing that we have in common. That never changes. It never... there is no difference to it. And I think that's something really interesting. Despite all these other things that vary, that really are different from person to person, this is something that never changes. Even in animals, you know, we have this connection. So I think that's part of our humanity. That's part of our maybe it's part of our empathy. You know, the reason why we empathize so much more is because we kind of see that similarity. And so when you look into, let's say, an animal's eyes, you know, it looks back at you and you kind of see something that you can connect with. You know, that there is, despite them not being able to understand the language or them looking physically much more different than us, there's this amazing thing that we have in common. Now, I don't think that that should be the only reason why we have empathy for somebody is because we could see something that we can relate to. I think that living things in general deserve all of that. There's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't. But yeah, it's just an interesting little observation there. The perfect circle, right? The perfect circle that also is present if you were to zoom out and look at the planet, right? A planet is also a perfect circle. Two places where we absolutely have a perfect circle in the natural world that isn't man-made. Now, if you guys could think of something else that's in a natural world that is a perfect circle, share, you know, post it in the comments. I'd love to realize that as well. I mean, planets are a given. Pretty much most planets have, not all planets, all stars are a perfect circle as well. So planets, stars, and the pupil are ones that I could think of that are a perfect circle and are not man-made. So it would have to meet those two criterias. So if you could think of one, post it in chat. What is a perfect circle in the natural world that is not man-made? Or what has a perfect circle? Interesting thought there. Do another example here. It's kind of similar to the previous page, but It is the eye in 3/4 view. I want you guys to pay attention to how the corner of the eye disappears behind the bridge of the nose in this example. That's the takeaway. From this example. Now the gap between the lids is important. As I mentioned, when it's halfway open, and that gap widens, but when it's a straight on view like this, that gap shouldn't be too high. If it's too high, it also breaks that fourth wall dimension, and makes your drawing look weird, and it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that's a common thing pretty much for everybody. The eyelid wouldn't be incredibly thick in this view. As you could see, if it was, then that would mean, I don't know, you got huge eye sockets. Something is off anatomically there, would be the indication of it. But from what I've seen so far, and what is a common one, is the gap between the bottom of the eyelid and the top of it that folds underneath isn't too wide when the eye is open to its normal size. Unless, of course, again, if they're like shocked or something, right? If they're like senses are overloaded in some way and they widen their eyes incredibly. But in that case, that gap would be even smaller because it would fold even more underneath this right here. But yeah, this is something I was going to mention earlier. There is no real shortcut to understanding all these things. Like, no matter how much I explain it, and different ways that I give you guys examples, you still have to draw eyes or any other feature on the body over and over and over again to really grasp all of the different nuances, all the different little details that create a compelling drawing, that creates an anatomically correct looking drawing. For example, in this drawing right here, how do you know where the corner of the lid is supposed to be? Is it supposed to be higher up? You know, if you're drawing the shape, Is it supposed to be higher up? Is it supposed to be lower? You know, that's something that you pick up on the more eyes you draw. You know, every person's like lid area is different. You know, the pupil and iris, they're no different. That's something that everybody has the same shape of. It doesn't have like a triangle shape or anything, or an oblong shape. It's always round. It's always a perfect circle. But the lids themselves, they could sometimes be lower. Like they could be, like, think of like Sylvester Stallone, right? Or Rocky, let's just say, is like his eyelids are a little bit lower, or sagging a little bit lower than the most common person. Or so that's just an example of how that feature can vary. So the more you draw it, the more you'll get a better understanding of like what's the average really, like how does the average eye have this shape, like what kind of a shape it's supposed to be. Notice I'm drawing the thickness of the lid, the bottom lid here as well. And as I mentioned, the corner of the eye is hiding behind this bridge, the bridge of the nose, right here. So that's an important detail to note. Ooh, look at the time fly. I am gonna have to end the stream for figure drawing basics, but I will be back in 5 minutes for the project stream, which I'm excited to continue. If you guys enjoy this content, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. You'll get a notification when I'm going live. That way you guys can tune in. They both help the stream, so it would be greatly appreciated. And stick around, guys. I'll see you in 5.